My brother, I've been thinking about something. We've talked about this. Let's give the people more. Oh, they're gonna f it up.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to be wrapping up this second week of our salute and celebration of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his 50th birthday with 2010's family film, The Tooth Fairy, starring, of course, Dwayne Johnson, alongside Ashley Judd, Julie Andrews, Stephen Merchant, Billy Crystal, and Seth Macfarlane. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today we're wrapping up our second week of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies as we celebrate his 50th birthday here on the channel. And we're talking about the family-friendly film Tooth Fairy. And as our film opens, we meet Derek Thompson, who's a minor league hockey player nicknamed the Tooth Fairy due to his habit of knocking out the teeth of his opposing team's players. One evening, Derek steals $1 from his girlfriend Carly's 6-year-old daughter, Tess, that had been left for her lost tooth, and he proceeds to tell her that the Tooth Fairy does not exist. Later that evening, Derek receives a summons under his pillow, a magical invitation which transports him to the realm of tooth fairies and causes him to grow wings. Once there, Derek meets Tracy, his caseworker, as well as Lily, the head fairy, with whom he develops an adversarial relationship. Lily proceeds to tell Derek that he is a dream crusher due to his unsympathetic dealings with children such as Tess. Because of this, Derek is sentenced to serve 2 weeks as a tooth fairy. He is then sent to meet with Jerry, who gives him his tooth fairy supplies, such as invisibility spray, shrinking paste, and amnesia dust. Now, Randy, who is Carly's 14-year-old son, dislikes Derek. Randy wants to grow up and be a heavy metal star. But when Derek defends Randy against a bully, he begins to win Randy over. And they start to bond as Derek begins to help Randy with his guitar playing so that he can enter a talent show. Derek visits several children as he works his way through his sentence, but he ends up causing more harm than good. Lily even calls him the worst tooth fairy ever and denies him any more of Jerry's supplies during the duration of his sentence. However, Derek is approached by a fairy named Ziggy who sells him black market supplies. Later that night, the items malfunction, and Derek is seen by a child's mother and arrested. While behind bars, Tracy tells Derek that Lily has extended his sentence to 3 weeks instead of 2. But Tracy offers to give him more supplies as long as he begins to take the job seriously and act like a proper tooth fairy. Not too long after, Carly shows up to bail Derek out of jail. Now, true to his word, Derek begins to work on his tooth fairy skills, as well as bonding more with Randy and Tracy. However, when he chokes during a game and fails to score an important goal, he takes his anger out on Randy, telling him that he will never become a rock star. With his dreams firmly crushed, Randy takes and smashes his guitar, which causes Carly to break up with Derek, telling him that his biggest flaws are his inability to be optimistic and that he can't say the word if. Later that night, Tracy shows up at Derek's house and announces that he is an official tooth fairy in training. However, that it's Derek's dream crushing reputation that hurts himself more than others. And this annoys Derek, and he orders Tracy to get out of his house. The next day, Derek gets back on the ice, and he sees Tracy, who wants to teach Derek the importance of dreams. He encourages Derek to go for it and score an important goal, and then to go and fulfill his duties by getting another one of Tess's teeth. With a renewed spirit, Derek scores the goal, gets into his tooth fairy costume, and flies away, while Tracy sprinkles amnesia dust on the audience in order to cover up what has just transpired. Back at Carly's, Tess catches Derek taking her tooth, but she promises to keep it a secret. He then apologizes to Randy and encourages him to pursue his dreams and gives him a new guitar via his fairy wand. Downstairs, Carly sees Derek as the Tooth Fairy and assumes that he rented a costume just for Tess's sake, which causes her to forgive him. Derek then flies Randy to the talent show, but tosses amnesia dust onto him when they arrive. Derek then heads back to the fairy realm in order to give Lily the tooth, where he is informed that because of the fact that he reaffirmed Tess's belief in tooth fairies, he is now relieved of his duties. Lily explains to Derek that he will never see the tooth fairies again, and that he's about to have amnesia dust thrown on him so that he'll forget the entire thing ever happened. Derek says his goodbyes before Lily throws the dust onto him and transports him back to the talent show. At the contest, Randy shines, outperforming everyone and even ends up forming a band impromptu on stage. Derek then proposes to Carly, saying, What if we got married? And she accepts. During the credits, Derek is shown playing left wing for the Los Angeles Kings, and he sees Lily and Jerry in the crowd but doesn't recognize them. Jerry then helps him score a goal as our movie comes to its end. Now, a lot of people crap on the Tooth Fairy because of it being so family nature and so goofy. And, you'll remember years ago when The Rock and Cena had their feud, they weren't chanting Rocky last week, they were chanting Tooth Fairy. So this is one of those movies that kind of gets lumped in the not so good films of The Rock. But I really enjoy it because at the end of the day, yeah, Derek is a prick. I wouldn't call him a bad guy, but he's just a lost soul, if you will. He's one of those people who doesn't believe anymore, and it takes being exposed to it to make him believe. He's very much akin to Scott Calvin in the first Santa Claus movie. You know, he still believes in Santa, but he doesn't really believe because when he gets up to the North Pole, he doesn't believe it's real. He believes more than Neil, who's already told Charlie that Santa doesn't exist, but he's seen it and he still doesn't believe it. Derek is very much in that vein where he doesn't believe the tooth fairies exist. He's past that stage. And then he gets sent up to the fairy realm and he sees it and he still doesn't believe it, so he doesn't take it seriously. Much like when Scott first puts on the suit, he doesn't take it seriously. It's not until the following Christmas where Scott really starts to take things seriously. It's not until Derek has lost everything that he really begins to take the Tooth Fairy seriously. And he gets to reaffirm Tess's belief in it, which in turn causes his sentence to get reduced and abolished. Very much a similar vein here, and I enjoy this film. Not gonna lie, the fact that the LA Kings make an appearance at the very end, go Kings go, as this airs, we're doing the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Kings are in the first round against the Edmonton Oilers. Hopefully they can get past them and continue their journey through to get a third Stanley Cup. Knock on wood. But it's great seeing the boys from then. Most of those guys I don't even know. I heard them announce Jonathan Quick's name over the PA system, but as far as the guys that were taking the ice, I didn't really recognize any of them. Jeff would probably know who they were better than me because I wasn't following them at that time. Jeff, if you're watching, go back, rewatch The Tooth Fairy on purpose. Let me know which players you see in the end there. I'm curious. See if any of them were ones that I should have recognized and just didn't. But like I said, I heard them say Jonathan Quick's name over the PA. He's been our goalie for a good minute and got us the 2 cups that we got. So much love to Quickie there. But I digress. I think The Tooth Fairy is a fun film, and I think that if you don't take it too seriously and you watch it more so in the vein of the films like the Santa Claus that you watch, you know, seeing isn't believing, believing is seeing, then I think that you'll enjoy The Tooth Fairy a little bit more. Now, that being said, I am going to rank this one the lowest of all the movies I've rated so far this month. I give The Tooth Fairy 3 out of 5 stars. I honestly feel that if it wasn't for the stellar supporting cast, I probably would rank this one a little bit lower. But between Ashley Judd, Julie Andrews, Seth MacFarlane, Billy Crystal, again, some legendary names in Hollywood for Rocky to be working alongside The Rock and Julie Andrews. Hello, Mary Poppins and Dwayne Johnson. Yes, please. Billy Crystal, who worked with Andre the Giant on The Princess Bride, working with The Rock. Yes, please. Right there is good enough to make it a 3 out of 5-star movie. And unfortunately, this one just doesn't have the rewatchability for me that some of the others do. In all the years that this movie has been out and that I've owned it, this is probably only the second or third time that I've seen The Tooth Fairy start to finish. And that right there is the main reason why I'm ranking it so low. What do you guys think of The Tooth Fairy, though? Let me know. Do you agree with me? Is it a 3 out of 5-star movie? Let me know. Leave your thoughts and comments over here if you're watching the premiere. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's get that conversation going, people, like I always talk about. Make sure you guys tune in Monday, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, when we begin another week of Dwayne Johnson films, this time with Snitch, starring Dwayne Johnson, Barry Pepper, Benjamin Bratt, Susan Sarandon, John Bernthal, and David Harbour. You're not going to want to miss out on that one right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, right back here on an all-new Renegades Reviews next week when we kick off another week of Dwayne Johnson movies. Thank you to all my loyal fans and viewers out there that tuned in today for this review. Make sure you smash that like button, share it, get the word out there that the Renegade is back, that he's doing an entire month of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies in honor of his 50th birthday. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.